Agut Voch Rabbi Sai. Rabbi Sai, we're holding 8 lines from the top of Pei Beis Amud Beis. Pei Beis Amud Beis. Basar. Basar hayoytze lachutz pasel. If you take the meat outside of the Beis Hamikdash, we said, okay, this is the Azara, this is the Heichal, this is outside of the Heichal, and this is outside of the Beis Hamikdash. Let's turn it over because it's interesting. It was like that. So if the basar, the steak, goes outside of the Beis Hamikdash, the halacha is it's pasel. Hanichnas lefnim kosher. If you have basar, let's see, I got to get another piece of basar. If basar goes into the heichal, kosher. Shieh badin shepasel. L'chayr we can make a kavachomer to tell us that it's possible. We're just finishing up those kavachomers that gave Benny a lot of trauma. We're at the end. We're just doing 1, 2. Not a big deal, and we're done. Shieh badin shepasel. Uma b'mokum sheloi pasel dam shebachutz es shebifnim. Oh, look at this. We have the 2 cups of blood. If you shecht an animal and you're able to collect 2 cups of blood, one goes in the heichal, one stays outside of the heichal. We said the halacha is the one that stays out is kosher. Sorry. So now we're going to go this way. This we said is kosher. This right over here is pasel. If you have half the blood over here, this forget what I just said. Half the blood went outside of the Beis Hamikdash. Half the blood is left inside the Beis Hamikdash. This remains kosher. But pasel. But we said before, if some of the meat of the carbon goes outside, if I put one blood in the heichal and one blood out of the heichal, this becomes pasel. Because once you go into the heichal, the blood is pasel. So certainly this that goes inside the heichal should become pasel. So we have a miyut that says, no, the basar that goes in remains kosher, the blood is the problem. But if so, let's do the reverse. Now that we know this halacha, one more kavachomer, we're done. In this situation, you take 1 cup and you put it inside the heichal. The other cup that stays outside is pasel. But the meat remains kosher. Ooh, that was close. So now if we go to the outside, if you take 1 cup of blood and you take it outside of it didn't move yet. It didn't spill. 1 cup outside of the Beis Hamikdash, 1 cup inside, it remains kosher. And it didn't, certainly the meat should remain kosher. But and it didn't should kosher. No, that you can't do. Now we had an entire sugya. That what you have very good logic. It's a great kavachomer, but there's a pasuk. Once you go outside, it's also. We're done with the kavachomers, Givaldik, and now we can move on. Says the Gemara. Torah Pnima. Ainli ela pnima. We're talking about blood going into the heichal and into the Kodesh HaKodashim. So this is a side view of here we have a kohen. Wow, nice and slow. He walks into the Kodesh. Pnima means the inside, the inner chamber. What does the inner chamber mean? L'chayra, the inner chamber means the Kodesh HaKodashim. So he brings the meat, the blood into here, it becomes pasel. Pnima, ainli el pnima, heichal minayin. How do I know that just bringing the blood into this part, the heichal, before the Kodesh HaKodashim, the dam becomes pasel, as we had yesterday. Just bringing it in, it becomes pasel. Tamaloymar ela kodesh pnima. The word kodesh is referring to the heichal, and the word pnima is referring to the Kodesh HaKodashim. Ask the Gemara, v'yoymar kodesh, v'yoymar pnima. If it just says kodesh, and kodesh means the heichal, so certainly something that has more kedusha, certainly the blood should become pasul. Amar Rava both zev elimin al zeh. You need both of the words. You need pnima and you need kodesh. Why? Because kodesh doesn't mean anything to me. Pnima doesn't mean anything. There's no taich over there what it means. I'll give you an example, says Rava. We see by a kohen, the halacha is that if a kohen has a slave, a non-Jewish slave, Eved Kanani, he's considered kinyan kaspai. It's his belonging, literally his belonging, and he could give him from his own truma. So what about Eved Ivri? What about a Jewish slave? And there's two types of Eved Ivris. There's Eved Ivri that's up to 6 years, and there's Eved Ivri that goes out by Yovel. He says, I want to hafti sishti, I want to stay with you. What makes more sense? That a kohen could give his truma to a Jewish slave that's there all the way till Yovel, he's working for him up to 50 years, or a slave that only works for 6 years? What makes more sense? He can give truma to what? The nirtza, the one that lives forever, the one that works for him until Yovel. So it says, the sanya, toishav, the word toishav. So anybody that speaks a little Hebrew knows, you're a toshav. What does a toshav mean? You're a citizen, resident. It means somebody that works, he's going to be your Eved Ivri forever, meaning until Yovel. Sachir, and the word sachir, here we have the pasuk over here. B'chol zar lo yoichal kodesh. It says in the pasuk, toishav kohen v'sachir, both. Sachir is a kohen kinyan shanim. Zeh kohen kinyan oilam. Toishav is a kohen kinyan oilam, sachir is a kohen kinyan shanim. Yoim at toishav al yoim sachir. So just say that if you cannot feed the slave, I shouldn't call him a slave, the Eved Ivri, that works up till Yovel, you can't give him truma, certainly if he only works for 6 years. And Yoimer, Koni kinyan oilam, and oichel, Koni kinyan shanim lekolchkin. I'll make don kavachayim. Says Gemara, no. And this is part of the explanation. The word toishav doesn't mean anything to me. The word toishav could also mean that he's a Eved Ivri that only works 6 years. If it only said one word in the Torah, I would say, you know what? A regular Eved Ivri, you can't give truma, but one that's mamish, kinyan oilam is there, he's going to be working forever. Him you could give truma. That's why b'sacher v'limid al toishav, and that's why the Torah said both words. Now I know what toishav means. Sacher, the toishav is from the two words. Toishav means he works longer than sacher. So sacher is going to be the one that works for 6 years. Toishav is going to be the one that works till the yovel. So two by us, we have two words. We have pnima and we have kodesh. So now that we have two words, so pnima is going to mean the inner of the inner, the kodesh hakadashim, and kodesh is going to mean the heichal. But if it only said one, I wouldn't know what pnima means. Maybe pnima means compared to the Chazarah, I went inside. I went inside one step to the first station, to the heichal. I didn't go all the way in. When it comes to avodim, you have two different avodim. One is the one that works for 6, one that works till the yovel. The Torah should have said, to be more specific, the nirtza. And I would have learned the one that works for 6 years. You certainly can't feed him truma if you can't feed the one that works till yovel. We have a yisoid in the Torah that sometimes the Torah goes out of its way, even though it's something you can learn about the Torah explains it and elaborates. How in the world could you possibly get all the way into the Kodesh HaKadoshim without passing the blood through the Heichal? The only entrance to the Kodesh HaKadoshim is through the Heichal. And if I bring the blood into the Heichal, and that makes the blood puzzle, so of course it's going to be possible once I get to the Kodesh HaKadoshim. Why do I need a pasuk to tell me that the blood is possible when I get to the Kodesh HaKadoshim? There's a way to get into the Kodesh HaKadoshim, not the regular way. He can get in through the ceiling, says the Gemara. There's different ways, there's different escape routes, the window. But But that doesn't work, says Rava. V'havok sivbei. It says a lashon of coming in normally. And therefore, says Rava, if you came in through the ceiling, it wouldn't become possible. The blood wouldn't be possible. Vu ba'al hakodesh. Elam Rava kol midi d'chashav alei l'fnai v'lefnim l'mifsel beheichal. Says Rava an amazing chiddush here. You wouldn't be able to think of something on your own, something like this. Says Rava, I have a way that you walk through the heichal and the blood does not become possible. It only becomes possible when you get into the Kodesh HaKodashim. And that is, if I think in my mind that I don't want to use the blood in the heichal, I want to use it dafka in the Kodesh HaKodashim, it won't become possible. What's pshat? Don't know. That's what he says. That's what the Torah is telling us. The reason why the Torah says Kodesh HaKodashim, the pnim, is because there's a way through the machshava. Yiddishkeit is in the head. You could change a lot of things with your mind, and this is one of them. By Rava, when Klai Yisrael is told by the Sanhedrin that they could eat a certain chelav, and they go ahead and they eat it, right? Klai Yisrael, they have to bring a parallel davar. Where do you sprinkle the blood? In the heichal. So you have the right to be in the heichal to sprinkle the blood. And he goes, and he takes it a step further, he exaggerates. Instead of sprinkling the heichal, he goes into the Kodesh HaKodashim. Mao. Does it become possible? Mi amrinon ela kodesh pnima. You have to have two things. You have to have ela kodesh, that you went into the heichal, and then pnima, you go into the Kodesh HaKodashim. Kol heichal karina ela kodesh. When there's a problem, when you're over going into the heichal, then you're over going into the Kodesh HaKodashim. Karina bei pnima. Kol heichal the loy karina ela kodesh, loy karina pnima. When Ela Kodesh doesn't apply to this case. Why doesn't it apply to this case? Because you're supposed to sprinkle it in the heichal. So maybe this whole pasuk doesn't apply here. And if you bring that blood of the parallel davar and Sarah Avodah Zarah into the Kodesh HaKodashim, you're not passing it. At the end of the day, you're going to a place you don't belong, and that makes it possible. If you say yes, indeed, that will pass the blood. If you take that blood and you sprinkle it in Kodesh HaKodashim, and then you go back to the heichal. Vichnisan mahu. Now what do you do? So what was the case here? He sprinkled the blood in the Kodesh HaKodashim, and he took it out to the heichal, and then he went back in. Now you have this is a bull that you're supposed to bring it into the Kodesh HaKodashim. It's in Yom Kippur. Yom Kippur, you're supposed to sprinkle it in Kodesh HaKodashim. So he went into Kodesh HaKodashim, but he came out. He was done. He's done with his job. So the question is, once he's done, he has no right to go back in. And if he goes back into Kodesh HaKodashim, he passes the blood, or no, he has the right to be there on Yom Kippur. So he stepped out, he came back in. It's not the end of the world. And if you say that, because he stepped out, that's it. He doesn't have the right to go back in. He's a midama paroiches. So this is a little confusing. It's not a big deal, but take a look at this. This is all. Let me just explain that we have an artist, not Yoshi, not Shlomo. We have a guy that works all day long for the last few months. All he's been doing is making stuff for the Beis HaMikdash. So this is one of the things. We asked him to do this quickly on Friday. Over here you can see the Kodesh HaKodashim on the left side, and you see this is not a nice one. This is just to explain what's going on here. The Kohen is walking from the Kodesh HaKodashim through the Paroich. That's not exactly how he walks, okay, but he gets to the west side of the Mizbech HaKtoros. Here, this Mizbech right over here, this guy, this is Mizbech HaKtoros. He's on the west side. He's between the Paroiches and the Mizbech. That's on the west side. That's where he's supposed to be. The Torah says, as soon as he comes out of the Kodesh HaKodashim, that's where he starts sprinkling with blood on that Mizbeach. Now he went and he walked to the east side. That's not where he's supposed to be. And then he comes back to the west side. Mao. So here the shaila is, he didn't really go to another room. He went to a place where he doesn't belong there. That's not where the avodah is done. So he didn't go in and out of a place. At the end of the day, he shouldn't have been on the east side of the Mizbeach. So the fact that he went to the east side, he shouldn't be coming back to the west side. He's done. Teiku. Okay, end of that. Nichnas l'chaper. What happened was, he thought to himself, he went into the heichal with his blood. Has a cup of blood, he goes into the heichal where he's not supposed to be putting the blood on his back. He thought he was going to do the zrika, and he didn't end up doing the zrika. So we have a machloikis. Reb Shimon says you have to do zrika. Nichnas l'chaper. Tanya, Reb Lezer oimer, nemar kan l'chaper b'kodesh. It says by us, these words, remember these words, l'chaper b'kodesh. V'nena ha'alon v'chol lo yeh ba'oyel moyed b'voy l'chaper b'kodesh. On Yom Kippur it says, when he does the Ketores, l'chaper b'kodesh, mal ha'alon b'shloi kippur, he didn't actually do, there's no kapar by Ketores, afkan b'shloi kippur. So too by us, by the blood, there's no kapara. Reb Shimon oimer, nemar kan, no. Dafka if you do the zrika, nemar kan l'chaper, v'nemar ha'alon v'yispar achadus v'sir achadus she'uva, by Yom Kippur it says, so l'chaper, same word l'chaper, ma'alon b'shekiper, afkan b'shekiper, just by Yom Kippur, it's kapara, so too, by us talking about the blood becomes possible if you put it onto the mizbeach haktar. B'maiko mifligi, what's the machlokes? Mar savar dorim chutz mechutz. This is super interesting. I could ask Rabbi Yakim, how many times in Shas do you have something like this? Chutz mechutz typically would be, you learn a chatos they do outside from a chatos you do outside. No. Over here, chutz mechutz is something completely different. Chutz, I'm going to learn the chatos from outside, from Ketores, which all Klai Yisrael, they can't go inside to watch the Kohen Gadol. They have to stand on the outside. It's super interesting, to me at least. You ask him, it's a little interesting. This chutz mechutz, it's not your typical, it's not the same thing. It's like, everybody has to stand outside. So it's like and that is similar to a chatos that's done on this mizbeach outside. Okay. And you don't learn the chatos from Yom Kippur. Umar Sover, Reb Shimon says, no, don't behema. It's much better to learn animal from an animal, not before we did people. People have to stand outside. And mainly you learn a chatas chutz from a chatas pnimi. They're both animals and not chatas from a person. If Yehuda says, if you go in b'shoigeg, then the blood is kosher. So the Gemara is medayik hamezid puzzle. But it seems like if he did it deliberately, it's puzzle. And now I want to know, how did he go in deliberately? Does he hold like Rabbi Eliezer or Reb Shimon that we just said? Does he have to apply it to the Mizbeach or he doesn't have to apply it to the Mizbeach? B'shekiper or b'shloi kiper? So now we're going to go like 10 lines, say the whole thing, then we're going to bring a raya all the way at the end of the parak. It says like this. It says in the Pasuk, V'yispar achadis v'sir achadis asher huva is damam l'chaper b'kodesh. Let me show you the psukim. I'm not going to say anything. The Gemara asks, it already says in Pasuk Chav Zayin, V'sorfu v'eish, esayirosam, v'spsar v'spirsham. So why in Pasuk Chav Ches does it say v'asoyref v'oisam? It's a double lashon. Does anybody understand what the Gemara is asking? I don't. So the Gemara says, it says v'asoyref twice. Says Gemara, Matam aloyva v'asoyref. L'gufei yitzrich. What do you mean? It's the two different. One says he should burn the hide and the meat, and Pasuk Ches is talking about that the person that burns it, he should burn his clothing. Two different things. Oh, you're right. Elo matam aloyva chatas chatas. In the beginning of the pasuk, you see it says chatas chatas here. V'yispara chatas v'sira chatas. If you were writing the pasuk, how would you write it? You'd probably write it v'spar useir hachatas. You wouldn't say the word chatas twice. Why does it say it twice? Here's Beis Hadeshen, Rabbi say, outside of the Gimel Machnos where the people lived, they would burn the par. Now the person burning it, mitam v'gadim, the person who burns it, his clothing become tamei. Shanas rafim anayin, that's okay. That's the par. How do you know chatas pnimi that also you burn? How do you know that his clothing become tamei? Tamei loymar chatas chatos. He learns from chatas chatos. Remei oimer nitzarach. Arei oimer veis par chatas v'sir chatos. Sheitam loymer lechaper. Atam loymer lechaper. The word lechaper is actually leave it al kolam iskaprim shasarvim mitam v'gadim. That's another way to learn it from the word lechaper. Rabbi Yehuda, so how can Rabbi Yehuda learn from Lechaper? How can we argue with the Rameya? And this is the Gemara's raya. Lechaper le mashmalei, Rabbi Yehuda says. Why my time? La mishum de mibar le l'gzeir shava. The Lechaper is teaching us what we're trying to learn before, that when you bring blood inside, it doesn't become tamei, the blood doesn't become pasul unless you do Lechaper. Unless you put it on the Mizbeach. This is how we know the Rebbe holds that you need to put it onto the Mizbeach. Hadron aloch Zevachim shenisarvu. Hadron aloch Zevachim shenisarvu. Hadron aloch Zevachim shenisarvu. So it says the mission like this: HaMizbeach mekadesh esaroyloi. The Mizbeach has the power. One of the psukim that we're going to see. It says, Shivas Yom L'Chaper, it says, Kolonigeya ba'mizbeach yigdosh. You touch the Mizbeach, anything that's on the Mizbeach yigdosh. And Rashi brings this lashon, we'll see it on Amud Beis. There's something called lachma shel Mizbeach. This is the bread of the Mizbeach. The bread, it's already owned by Mizbeach. Don't mess with it. Don't take it off. You shouldn't have put it on, but if you put it on, don't take it off. So we're going to see, it's really tomorrow's daf. There's 5 words. The 5 Tanaim, they bring 5 words. Rabbi Yeshua holds that the key word is ishim, fire. Anything that could go on the fire doesn't go off. So, l'mashal, blood. Does blood go on the fire? No. So if you put blood on, you got to take it off. What about wine? Does wine go on the fire? No. So if it goes on and it's tamei, it's pasul, whatever it is, you got to take it off. But everything else that has to do with animals goes. Stays on. Shenemar. Shenemar hi oila al moigto. Marilo shiruyo liishim mimolsa loy tered. Afkos roy liishim mimolo tered lo yered. Reb Gamliel loy mekol roy lemizbeach im olo lo yered. Shenemar hi oila al moigto al mizbeach. The key word, according to Reb Gamliel, is mizbeach. So, does blood go on a mizbeach? No. Yes. Wine, mizbeach? Yes. So therefore, lo yered. Maril shiruy le mizbeach im also lo tered. Afkos roy shiruy le mizbeach im also lo tered. Ein ben divrei says the Mishnah in ben divrei Reb Gamliel le divrei Shmuel adam ben esachim. There's one afkemina, the blood. The 2 afkeminas, dam and esachim. Reb Gamliel lo yerdu, Reb Shmuel yerdu. Reb Shimon oimer hazevach kosher un esachim psulim. There's 3 cases here according to Reb Shimon. The same case, but it's easy. Either you have a carbon that comes with wine. Hazevach kosher u'nesachim psulim. So the carbon was kosher, but the wine was pasul. Or hanesachim ksherim v'hazevach pasul. The wine is good, but the zevach afilu zev is a psul, or both are pasul. Hazevach lo yerid v'hanesachim yerid. Says Reb Shimon, when they go together, it has to be the only way. Rabbi Yisai, we're going to see in the Gemara that the only way, according to Reb Shimon, wine doesn't go down is if the wine came by itself, mi'atzmoi. But if it goes together, it comes together with the carbon, the wine always comes down, whether both are pasul, one is pasul, the wine is kosher, it doesn't matter, it comes off the mizbeach. Okay, give a base. Roy loyin, shein roy loy loy. Limudi mai. If it's proper for the mizbeach, then you don't take it off. If it's not proper for the mizbeach, no. All right, Papa limudi kmotzim shloi kosher v'kli. So here we go. The famous kmitza. Let's just see. We don't have to see the whole thing, right? The way the kmitza goes is the kohen puts his hand just like that, and he takes 3 fingers worth of flour, and then he takes that and he puts it into a klisharis. If it never made it into the klisharis, so even though the actual mincha was in the klisharis to begin with, but it didn't go in there, so you must take it off the mizbeach. If you try to put it on the mizbeach, you have to take it off. Mascular Ravina, Maishim in Ula, but why is it any different than Ula? Dama Ula, a Muri Kachim Kalim Shalom, Lifnei Zrikas Damam, Lo Yerdu. If you have Kachim Kalim, that you're supposed to put parts of the let's say, what's a Kachim Kalim? A Bchar, Meiser. You have parts that go on the Mizbeach. And you put it on the Mizbeach before you did the Zrika, you don't take it off. Why? Not so Mizbeach. So over here also, you put something on the Mizbeach, a Mincha, before you did what you're supposed to do. Says Gemara, there's no connection. The Kachim Kalim, the meat of the Kachim Kalim, the Imurim that go on the Mizbeach, they themselves, there's nothing you can do to them. You have to take blood, which is another item, and put that on the Mizbeach. Over here, the Mincha, you're supposed to do something with this Mincha. You're supposed to put it into a second Klisharis, and that you didn't do, so take it off the Mizbeach. Rabbi Yeshua Makol Royli Yishim. Gamliel Nami Yoksiv Oilam Magda. Why is there an argument between Rabbi Yeshua and Gamliel? Rabbi Yeshua says the key word is fire, Ishim, and Gamliel says the key word is Mizbeach. But doesn't Rabbi Gamliel agree that it says Oila Al Magda? It says fire. There's a special halacha that if from the heat, from the pressure, from the fire, sometimes pieces of meat go flying everywhere. And that's what we learn. You're supposed to put it back on the Mizbeach. But if he already uses up the word for something else, how does he know that he's supposed to put it back? What do you do on Teichale? If you have Ktoiris that falls off, then you don't put it back on. We learn two things over here. First of all, we learn that the oila you put back on, and Ktoiris you don't. Yeah, now we're going to do the opposite. What is he going to do? It says Mizbeach, that anything that goes on Mizbeach, so wine, the Zevachim also should be included. Why are you learning from the word Eish? We have to understand what does the Torah mean? The Torah is saying anything that's appropriate for the fire, that's what the Mizbeach is Mekadesh. It says another place, Mizbeach, that doesn't mention fire over there. Something that once upon a time was available to Mizbeach, but later on something happened to it, let's say it became Tamei. It never had an opportunity, it didn't have the opportunity to go on Mizbeach because let's say the Kohen that was doing the Avodah was thinking a machshava of Psul. V'idach, Kiven the Psulim ninu, V'Rabinu Rachmana, it doesn't make a difference if it had available minute or not. At the end of the day, the Torah said you put it back on. You don't have to take it off. So Mela, it doesn't matter if it has a Shas HaKosher or not. Rabbi Isai, have a good Voch. Thank you for coming.
Merit the schus of spreading Torah throughout the world. Sponsor a shir today. MDYsponsor.com or sponsor at MDYDaf.com.